Everyone at the funeral called him the perfect husband. The eulogies were full of it: his patience, his gentleness, the way he had loved her, the way he had always been there. People spoke with certainty, like they were describing something unquestionable, something proven. His wife sat in the front row and said nothing. She wasn't silent because she was overwhelmed with grief. She was silent because she was the only person in that room who knew which version of her husband they were burying. The version they described had existed. For 20 years, it had existed, and she had loved it, truly, without doubt, without hesitation. But in the final years, something changed. Not suddenly, not dramatically, quietly, slowly. And what changed wasn't just his memory. It was the mask. The doctors called it dementia, a disease that takes pieces of the mind, one by one, until the person you know starts to disappear. But what no one tells you is that sometimes it doesn't just erase a person. Sometimes it reveals one. At first, it was small things. He forgot names, repeated stories, became irritated over nothing, things she could explain away, things she wanted to explain away. Because when you love someone, you don't rush to see what's wrong. You protect what feels right. But then the softness began to disappear. The patience people admired so much faded. The quiet kindness cracked. And underneath it, there was something else, something sharper, smaller, colder. He started saying things he would have never said before, blunt things, cruel things, not loudly, not violently, but honestly. And that's what made it unbearable, because it didn't feel new. It felt uncovered, like something that had always been there, finally stepping into the light. One afternoon, sitting in the garden, the same garden he had spent years carefully maintaining, he looked at her, really looked at her, clear, present, and he said, "I don't know why you stayed so long. You were never what I wanted." She didn't cry, not immediately. She sat there as if the world had shifted slightly out of place. And then she stood up, went inside, made a cup of tea, and stared out the window. Because beneath the pain, there was something even more unsettling: recognition. Not because she knew those exact words, but because somewhere deep inside, she had always felt the distance between what he showed and what he was. And now, there was no distance left. She didn't leave him. That's the part people expect. But she didn't. She stayed. She cared for him. She gave him his medication, sat beside him, watched him fade. But something inside her shifted completely. She stopped protecting him, not physically, not as a patient, but as a person, as an image, as a story. For 20 years, she had helped maintain who he appeared to be, to friends, to family, to the world. She filled the gaps, softened the edges, explained the silences. She turned a performance into a reality everyone believed, including herself. But now she stopped, quietly, without drama. She stopped adding meaning where there was none, stopped correcting what people misunderstood, stopped holding together something that was already falling apart. And in that space, something unexpected happened. She found herself. She started studying again, started writing, started reconnecting with parts of her life that had slowly disappeared over the years. Not loudly, not to prove anything, just because she finally could. He never apologized. He never explained. He never gave her closure. But he didn't need to, because the truth had already been revealed. And the strangest part of it all was that she no longer needed anything from him. Not answers, not validation, not even the version of him she had loved, because she finally understood something most people never do. A person can act like love for years without ever becoming it. And when the ability to act disappears, only the truth remains. The disease took her husband. What it left behind was the truth. And the truth, as painful as it was, gave her back herself.